Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everybody, to Tech News Weekly. I am your host, Andrew Zarian. This is a show where we run down all the top tech stories of the week. I'm joined by Suncast, as I am each and every week. How you doing, Suncast?
Hey, what's up, Andrew? How's it going?
Good. Finally, we got everything going right?
Yep, finally.
Excellent. And today's special guest, I'm joined by Chase from Geek Gamer TV.
Yes, sir. Yes, welcome.
GeekGamer.tv. I was on your show last Sunday. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you. We enjoyed having you.
I was not sober by the end of the show, by the way.
No. Actually, we caught him live on camera finishing off some vodka or something at the start of the show, which
It was
great.
wine. Don't lie. It was a bottle
I don't
of
think
wine.
Andrew can do a show without drinking.
I'm drinking right now, actually.
See
Free
what I
drink
mean?
America's
Quite
Nectar.
proven.
This is America's Nectar, a nice can of Budweiser. It's Friday. I gotta
Because
have a
nobody
drink.
could run this company sober.
No. That's an impossible thing to do, is run this company sober. But this is a show where we run down all the top tech stories of the week. And you know what? It caught me by surprise this week that there were a lot of stories. I have been running around all week. A lot of projects we're working on here at the network. We just had a conversation from Blog World, and we're going to be broadcasting from Blog World this year, June 5th to the 7th. And I believe I'll be speaking at Blog World, so that should be a lot of fun. So I've been working on that along with everything else that goes on. And when Suncast did the notes today, and when I was running down the notes, I'm like, wow, you know what? A lot of stuff did happen. And we started the week by Apple announcing that they have $100 billion in the bank. That's $100 billion worth, more than many countries around the world. They also announced something that I had said on Chase's show that previous evening on Sunday night. I announced that I didn't think they would do a dividend.
Nope, we made predictions.
And I was wrong, just like I'm always wrong when it comes to an Apple product. I said the iPad is stupid, and why would you want an oversized iPod Touch? And I also said that I also said that the iPhone is a stupid idea. Why would you want an Apple phone? So I have been wrong twice on two of the biggest tech products of the 21st century so far. So I'm striking out. I'm striking out. But Apple, $100 billion in the bank. And during the conference, I guess they did show, they said something along the lines of, and Chase, please tell me if I'm wrong. They said something like more to look forward to in 2012 or something like that. They alluded that 2012 is going to be the big year for Apple.
Oh, yeah, huge.
What do you think they were alluding to there?
Oh, they're obviously alluding to probably the next iPhone. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
The iRobot?
The iRobot?
Yes.
No.
No?
Maybe the Apple TV.
No.
There's already an iRobot.
No, but that's not the real one. They're going to sue them, and they'll get the rights, and they'll release the Apple robot, and it'll just do everything for you.
Right.
And then it'll kill you and wear you as its skin. That's what I predict by the end of the year. No, but they $100 billion in the bank. This company's doing phenomenal. The stock is at $600 a share. Announced a dividend program. They're looking to buy back some of their stock now because they're going to be doing stock options for some of their company employees. So they're buying
repurchasing program is what
yeah,
it's called.
they're repurchasing the stocks back. It's a buyback, and they're going to be giving it out to their employees. So and that's going to kind of balance out the value still, and it's kind of keep it in demand. This is an amazing story, and say what you want about Apple, but this is a company that 15 years ago was left for dead. Nobody wanted to touch them. Nobody wanted an Apple product. The products were not great. They had a cult-like following that stuck with them, but that was not enough to save them. They did that deal with Microsoft, which really gave them a lifeline of sorts, and we all understand why Microsoft did that. At that time, they were under investigation. for antitrust issues, and some may say that's attributed to Apple's success currently. Obviously, that was a lifeline, but it was Steve Jobs all the way and his brilliance. And you can say what you want about the guy, but he really knew how to run this company, and he saved the company. And look where we are now. What can companies learn from this? I mean, look at a company like Microsoft, which is really, if you look at it, they always get that criticism that, it's an older company and they're the big evil tech company, but they're really not. And they've kind of reinvented themselves as well, much like Apple has over the last couple of years. They've become a hip company.
Well, companies, like Apple and Microsoft, with the ever-changing landscape of technology, they've forced themselves to steal a phrase from Apple, think different. And Apple has definitely done that. And they've moved themselves away from just being a software company, but moved themselves into consumer electronics, phones and set-top boxes and consumption devices. I mean, you see what Microsoft did a number of years ago. Remember, I believe it was at Comdex or CES, where Microsoft announced the tablet, and they announced Windows running on the tablet. And Bill Gates and they trotted this thing out, but it didn't really take off until Apple came along, perfected the software, perfected the hardware, bringing it at a great price point, and revolutionized it.
I mean, yeah, they did, and this kind of leads into the next story. And and Suncast and I were discussing this earlier on in the week, and Suncast over the last couple of months, I guess your perception of Apple and the iPhone has kind of changed, and you've become almost of a fan of the product. You were a BlackBerry guy for many years, and you were quite critical of Apple and the iPhone and many things that they did, but you have kind of turned over, and you're starting to see, these are great products, and they're doing something right here.
But then again, I think the iPhone has changed dramatically over the past generations that they've had. I mean, when the iPhone first came out, it wasn't anything, to write home about compared to some of the other devices that are out there in terms of overall features and capability. Like, it didn't have MMS, which was a big thing. It's like, how can you have a phone that doesn't do picture messaging? That's so bizarre and weird.
Sure.
They've resolved a lot of those problems, so I can see myself definitely using an iPhone now.
So Apple, the rumors are coming out, and I don't know who I could credit this to. I saw it in Reuters. I'll credit Reuters for the article that I saw, but I'm not too sure if they were the original source. But Apple is getting ready to launch a 4.6-inch display phone.
This is just a rumor, by the way.
This is just a rumor currently, but it does seem somewhat realistic. And if this is true, I mean, they're jumping right over the 4-inch display.
So is the iPhone 4S being called an iPhone 5?
You know what, though? And I'm going to give you my theory on this. I really do think that an iPhone 5 was supposed to come out, and Steve Jobs' health played a major factor on us not getting an iPhone 5. I really, really believe that. I think the iPhone 4S was almost
there's absolutely no way to prove or disprove that one way or the other.
I think a couple things played a factor. I think Steve Jobs being really ill at that point played a factor, and I think LTE, battery technology, and LTE not being where they kind of wanted it to be played also a factor in that. If you're looking at it's a bit. If this is true, 4.65, it's the size of this. This is the display. This is the current iPhone display. As you can see, this is a very large display. But if they do screen like from bezel to bezel, they could do a 4.6-inch display on a device this small still.
I think that's one of the things that would be that's pretty much what's holding me back right now from getting an iPhone is, and I have an iPod Touch, which is basically the same size as an iPhone, and to me, it's a little bit small. I want something with just a bit bigger screen. It doesn't necessarily have to be 4.6 inches. That might be a little bit too big, but anything bigger than 3.5 inches would be nice.
Chase, do you think they're going to go with a 4.65 display, or are they going to go with a 4-inch display? Because that's a big display if that's what they do. I
think it is, but for me, and I know I'm probably going to be a minority on this, and I'll get the hate mail later. Send it to Andrew, and he'll filter it.
Sure,
for me.
I will.
I don't care too much about a big display, because when I think of big display, and obviously it's going to be a retina style display, It's going to need more battery power. The phones could probably end up being a little bit more heavier. It's going to be a little bit more bigger. I don't know. I mean, at first,
Why don't you just stick with the feature phone then?
Well, but it's not a feature phone. Right now, I mean, this works for me. This is my 4S right here, and the screen size is perfect. It fits in my pocket just fine. I don't have to worry about the added real estate. It's perfectly manageable for me, unless I'm going to be dedicatedly watching videos and doing something that I really need a large real estate for. I don't know. I mean, with the higher resolution screens that we're getting, bigger screen and a higher resolution. So what? You're going to need glasses to look at the text on your phone. I mean,
I'll tell you,
what kind of
when I got the Galaxy Nexus, I honestly thought the display would be way too big. I didn't want a 4.6-inch display, and going from this now to an iPhone, it's difficult for me. It's very small. The iPhone screen is very small.
Well, I'll give you an example of something else that I've been doing lately. So I have this Kindle Fire here. It's 7 inches. And I'll be honest, I think just walking around the house with a 7-inch tablet is a little bit difficult to do. It's actually a little bit heavier. I actually prefer taking my iPod Touch around the house when I'm not in my room at my computer, because the iPod Touch is a little bit smaller and it's more portable than it is even a 7-inch tablet.
Do you think that they would go that big? Now this is the strange thing. I could have sworn they would have gone with a 4-inch display.
I would agree with that. I think,
but you're talking about a
makes more
good
sense than 4.6. I mean, yeah, 4.66 would probably be nice, but I think some people would still see that as too big.
It's a weird phase right now, really, when it comes to phone and screen sizes. I think you look at what the Note,
which is humongous, yeah,
which is like
Samsung
huge.
Note.
I mean, it comes with a built-in stylus and all that fun stuff. I mean, it's one of those situations right now where do you go? I mean, do you go bigger? I mean, probably, but do you go too big? I mean, 4 inches might be a nice sweet spot. I mean, I don't think they want to make a half tablet phone per se.
But Chase, you know what? We live in a world where people use their iPads as cameras. You know, think about how ridiculous that is. How ridiculous is doing this? Hang on. I got to take a picture. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Boom. Okay, I took a picture.
Does anybody have the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little ridiculous that we do that, but that's what I guess we're doing now. And I've heard people defend photography with an iPad with, well, you're getting full resolution on it, so you could see exactly what you're shooting. I don't think you really need to see what you're what you're shooting.
No. I mean, it's going to revolutionize, filmmaking for sure. I mean, when they can do that on an iPad, but on a mobile device. Some people want a nice, decent-sized screen, nothing too big or too small. The 4S works for me, and I could take pictures and do video with it. When you start getting bigger and bigger, then you start putting in, all right, what's the deal with battery life? How's it going to be? They're going to have to put a bigger battery in here, which means it's going to be a little bit heavier probably.
So let's guess here. Where do you think, Suncast? They're going to go with a 4.6-inch display? They're going to go with a 4-inch display? What do you think?
It's anybody's guess. I mean, they might not even do anything at all. I mean, it's Apple, for Pete's sake. There's rumors that come out every single day about new Apple products and what they're going to be doing in the future. And, half the time people are wrong. Even one of the other Mac experts that was quoted in this story said, this is probably just something that's a rumor, and it's unlikely that we might even see something like this. So,
you know what else also happens? We also have to remember that Apple does a lot of testing.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of time when they get these displays, when they get a phone manufactured, when they have all these prototypes, that could also be the leaked items that we're getting. They have to be testing it out on different size displays to see what works, what doesn't work. And I think a lot of these leaks that we get, it might be, prototypes that they're doing internally. They're doing internal tests. But the Retina display, that is a big selling point to this. And I wouldn't mind seeing a 4.5-inch display on an iPhone. To continue with the Apple news, high-resolution mountain lion art could point at a Retina Mac in 2012. This is something that we've been discussing for a couple of weeks, and we discussed it on your show Chase, on Sunday on Gamer TV. I am a firm believer that they are going to go with a Retina display on these MacBook Pros. I also believe that the next generation MacBook, whichever MacBook you get, are all going to be Air-based. There's going to be no more Air and MacBook Pro. I think you're going to have the MacBook Pro, and I think you're going to have the MacBook.
So now we know Apple's going to do the exact opposite of what Andrew is saying.
So because I'm always wrong, Apple will most probably ditch all of it and go back with a heavy, suitcase-style laptop. I guess, do you think this means that they're going with a Retina display if they're going to a high-resolution art with their icons?
Well, maybe. It's one of those situations where I think they're definitely going to go with something maybe higher resolution, but I think you're going to start seeing more of a approach with their devices, with the computers and with the mobiles and the tablets. They kind of have this family, if you will. They've already done it for years with MacBook Pros, and they called it the MacBook Pro, right? And they don't call it the MacBook Pro 7 or 10 or whatever. They already did that now with the iPad. I think what's going to happen is when Apple comes out with this new iPhone, they're going to call it the new iPhone, and they're going to have two models. They're going to have two size models, and everything will be interconnected somehow, some way. And with a Retina display, maybe you'll be able to pull your desktop of your Mac Pro onto your iPad and work on it there, and then push it back up. And obviously with a Retina-style display, you need to have those high-resolution icons, and it just brings the family all together. One big happy Apple family.
No, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right in that.
Which means I'm wrong as well.
Which means you're wrong also. So, I guess you want to go into the next story? Because we've done all the Apple stuff.
Which one do you want to do to the next story?
I don't know. I kind of wanted the Apple stuff out. So you go to whatever you want to go to.
Well, let's go to one of the more interesting stories, I think, is that, Verizon has been buying up some spectrum lately, and AT&T has had their issues with trying to get their hands on some spectrum. Now it's kind of on the other foot where, AT&T had a whole issue with T-Mobile, and that merger fell through. Verizon is kind of in the same situation, but not quite the same, where they've agreed to purchase $3.6 billion worth of spectrum from a consortium of cable companies, including Comcast and Time Warner.
Yeah, I think it was Spectrum Co.
So I don't know what the name of it was, but it's really interesting that, they're so harping this capacity crunch. I guess they had some Senate hearing this week, and they reiterated all this again where, we're going to have this big spectrum crunch by next year if we don't do something.
I don't see this again. Last week I said it on the show where they had stated that they had more than enough spectrum and they didn't need to buy up spectrum. And now they're screaming that they need more spectrum.
They're doing the same thing that AT&T was saying practically a year ago.
Yeah.
What these companies want to do is real simple. They want to lock up the spectrum so other companies can't enter into the space. They want to shut out competition, shut out consumer choice, and make it really, really difficult for other companies to get involved. Especially,
But what's awful, Chase? What's awful is that they're all in bed with each other. Not only is the cable company in bed with the wireless company, but the wireless company is in bed with the LAN companies. I mean, they're all in bed with each other at this point.
That's part of the agreement here that they have for acquiring this spectrum from the cable companies, that they're saying that there's cross-selling agreements for Verizon and Comcast where Verizon has to sell Comcast services and Comcast has to sell Verizon wireless services.
Well, they're already doing
there's some worry now where, what happens to Verizon Fios TV?
Yeah.
Well, they're already doing that here in the Northwest. They're running commercials on television right now where Verizon, you can get they call it a 4-play or quad play. You can get TV, internet, home phone, and wireless all on the same bill. They have a special phone number that you can call, and it's Verizon cell phone service. They're giving a $300 rebate if you sign up with a 2-year agreement. Obviously, they're trying to lock out everybody else, and they're trying to have this mutually exclusive agreement. Hey, you give us bandwidth, we give you some customers.
Yeah. I mean, that's
basically what they're doing.
But what's funny is that Verizon was competing with the cable companies for about 3 years now, and Fios, they were a major competitor. Hey, puppy, the puppy's here with me, and all of a sudden now they've agreed not to deploy any more service, and they're standing on where they are, and they're saying, okay, listen, we're not going to compete with you. Just give us the spectrum. We want the spectrum, and we will compete with you, and we'll sell your products, and you sell ours.
But isn't that technically anti-competitive?
Yeah, it is anti-comp. It's an anti. Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of these consumer advocates are saying that are against this deal is like, well, not only is you say there's a spectrum crisis, we say there's a free competition, lack of free competition in the marketplace because of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's trying to protect their own interests here. I mean, obviously, Comcast is trying to, and other cable companies are trying to keep themselves viable and try to keep their services. And they know that, all right, well, people are still watching TV and they also have wireless service. Let's see if we can bring them all in together. And Verizon's like, well, our future is going to be about wireless internet connectivity. Let's see if we can get in bed with Comcast and other companies to make this mutually exclusive. And that's the key here, is exclusive. When let's say you're an AT&T customer, God forbid, or some other wireless company, and you have Comcast service, you may not get that discount now. You may not get that cheap rate on your bill because you're not a Verizon customer. And that's where this exclusivity stuff is really stagnating the whole competition.
Yeah, and what does this mean for smaller companies that are trying to compete? Smaller wireless companies, smaller cell phone companies, smaller cable providers. I believe you have who do you have? Frontier, right?
Frontier in the Northwest. Yeah. And oddly enough, up here, so a couple years ago, Verizon, they sold off the copper and their fiber that they built in about 13 states, mostly in the West. And up here, Frontier, they're continuing the fiber. They're actually offering television service still because the competition up here keeps that happening.
So how many different options do you have?
Well, where I live for television, I can go with Comcast, or I can go with Frontier, or I can go satellite. So Dish Network, DirecTV, the whole 9 yards. For internet, I could do Frontier. I can do Comcast as well. So there's competition for that. And the thing is, because of the fiber that Verizon laid 2 to 3 years ago, now there's competition because cable's not the fastest guy in town anymore.
Yeah.
It's Frontier. It's the fiber that was left.
Unbelievable.
See, and that's one of the things that I'm worried about is that, well, they've got this agreement. And I'll be honest, I'm not against this deal. I'm not against Verizon purchasing spectrum in this manner. They're not actually merging, taking over any kind of companies. What I have a problem with are the agreements that they've worked out with these cable companies where they have to cross-sell. To me, that seems anti-competitive.
Well, it is
great
because
for each other to share this stuff, but it's anti-competitive.
But see, what does this mean for areas like we now have an option? For many years, we did not have an option in New York City. It was Time Warner Cable or nothing. That was it.
Yeah.
We now have Verizon Fios as an option, but many areas still do not have an option.
Right.
So
and
what do you
it's
do?
only going to get worse because
that, they made all this investment laying the Fios network optics and everything like that. But now that they have this agreement, I don't think they're going to build out anymore. They're like, well, we'll enter this agreement as long as you agree not to build out any more of your network and cross-sell our cable services.
What was that, Chase? I'm sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is, one of the things that's starting to happen, you have these local communities, right, that get fed up with Comcast, they get fed up with Verizon or whatever service that they have in their town. And they want to do something on their own. They're like, we're not getting the competition. We're not getting the service. And so what Verizon, Comcast, Time Warner, they're all guilty of this, is they go and lobby to these state legislators, and they lobby to get these laws put on the books that local communities cannot put in their own systems.
Yeah.
And not create this competition. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. They want these exclusive agreements. They want to be the only game in town, so there's no competition. This is just about shutting out people, and this is just about decreasing competition. This is not a benefit.
It's the days of DSL when you had an option. You had X amount of companies you could choose from to take your service to them, and
Right.
It was a very interesting time because you had cable, you had DSL, you had different options, and now DSL has gone away. I can't imagine why anybody would get DSL if you have the option for high-speed cable. I mean, of course, there's some pros, but why would you at the cost? So you really don't have an option other than your cable provider or your whoever's providing the fiber optic technology.
Right.
If there's even fiber optic technology there, that's what I'm worried about. Is in my area, the only fiber network I believe that's even in this area is AT&T. and that's AT&T. You know, it's not even the same as Fios. They don't operate their network anywhere near the same as Verizon Fios does.
They don't have it's not AT&T Uverse?
They call it AT&T Uverse, but the speeds are exactly the same as any cable company.
Well, that's because they're a content provider, and that's part of the problem here. Is a lot of these internet providers are also content providers, and they do not want you to cut off your television service if you're going to watch your stuff over the internet.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example, Chase. You're absolutely right. A couple of weeks ago, I don't remember if you were on the show when this debacle was happening, but I have a Fios line coming in. I have a 40 by 40 Fios line. And I have a secondary Fios line, which was 15 by 5. I just had it as a backup for Skype and my other feeds. We ended up doing higher speeds on our JTV and our Stickam feeds, so we need to bump up the speed to 25 by 25. When I called them up, they turned around and said, nope, sorry, we cannot give you the 25 by 25 with for, I guess, $60. We're going to have to charge you $100 because you're not bundled in with anything else.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, is there any bundled packages? They go, no, we're not offering it right now in your neighborhood. I said, so you're not offering me a bundled package? I mean, that doesn't make sense. And I explained, I'm like, the reason why you give incentives for bundles and don't give incentives for people that don't have bundles is almost like a pro and a con. Like, it's almost like a punishment if you don't take the bundle. If there is no bundle to offer, you cannot punish me. So she didn't understand. I ended up going through their PR department on Twitter, and they ended up giving me the 25 by 25 for the $60 because I made a big deal out of it.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Andrew, you know how to use the social media.
Most people
know how to leverage your voice, especially with GFQ. But the common person, all they're looking at is the bottom line. The non-tech savvy person they're looking at the bottom line. And they're like, well, crap, if I got rid of TV, my internet bill's going to go up $25 a month. Well, I might as well keep it. You know?
I mean, I've done it too. I do it all the time. We don't use any of our premium channels, and we're looking to cut corners here and there because everybody's, feeling the pinch. And it doesn't make sense for us to cut anything because if we cut, let's say, some of the channels, it's going to raise my internet costs the same amount. So you're kind of stuck with it. It's almost like, well, this is it. You have no other option. You can't drop and you can't add.
And thanks to no competition, this is where you're at. And thanks to a company that provides both content and internet, that's the problem. I mean, there are communities in California. One that I know of that I listened to on Twit is SonicNet. They're in Sebastopol, California. They have a fiber network. They offer, I believe, up to 100 megabits down. They don't offer television, and they offer it cheaper than the cable company offers 10 meg service. So if there's any proof about these companies trying to protect their bottom line and trying to protect their TV content, it's that.
Yes. Sorry. I was trying to pull up the lower third. But it's a good time to actually talk about our sponsor, Hover.com. Domain names made simple. I'm a big fan of Hover. I've been using Hover for over a year now. And the reason why I've stuck with Hover is because of their customer service and the way they treat their users. They don't upsell you. They don't use scared tactics for you to get private registration and business registration and certified registration. Everything is already included in the price, so you don't have to fork out, an extra $11 for private registration and then add a couple bucks here and there for some made-up baloney certification that's really nothing. With Hover, everything is included in the price. You don't get an upsell. You don't get email blasts constantly reminding you 8 months before your domain is up to get a domain name. They don't send you coupons in the mail. Everything is there, and all the deals are on their website. If you go to gfq.hover.com, you get 10% off your entire purchase, or you could use promo code GFQ upon checkout. One thing that they pride themselves on is the customer service. There is no hold times when you call during business hours. Another thing that they're great at is, let's say you want to transfer from those other guys. You have a domain with them. Let's say you have another 2 years, and you're thinking, well, I have 2 years on my domain name. I don't want to lose it. Well, you won't lose any existing time that you have purchased. All you got to do is call Hover, tell them you want to transfer it. It's only $10 for that year for the transferring of the domain. They honor your existing time, and they'll move everything over for you for free. No additional costs, nothing. They waive all the fees just so you can move over to Hover, and it's excellent. Go to gfq.hover.com. You get 10% off your entire purchase. Thank you, Hover. And on that note, I do want to talk about Microsoft for a second because there was two Microsoft stories. Microsoft is aiming for October 2012 to release Windows 8 tablets and PCs. So we're looking at an October release. Initially, we had heard back to school. We had heard September or late August. I had assumed it would have been November, just like Windows 7.
But we all knew that they wanted it out fall this year.
Yeah, but I don't know. You know, it's a very sticky situation. I was talking to Chase earlier, and you know, he told me what he dislikes about Windows 8. I have a couple of issues with Windows 8. You know, performance-wise, it's nearly the same as Windows 7. You're not getting that huge boost in performance. I know many people found that the performance from Windows Vista to 7 was phenomenal. This is a in-between operating system, and I think everybody's aware of that this is them kind of slowly easing you into this next generation of computing and this post-PC. Well, it is.
This is not easing.
It's not, but this is Microsoft's way of easing you, in my opinion. I think this is how they're going to ease you in.
You're going to like tiles. You're going to like it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Listen, you could go directly into desktop mode.
Yeah, but desktop mode in Windows 8 is not the same as desktop in Windows 7.
You can't do that.
Do you feel that a lot of people are going to hold out? Chase,
yes.
You do. You think it's going to be another 7?
You know, and I think it's going to be surprising to Microsoft that not only, obviously, us tech geeks are going to hold out, hardcore gamers are going to hold out, but I think you're going to see mom and dad, grandpa and grandpa, they're going to hold out too, just because of the fact that they would have to learn a whole new operating system and how to do things all over again. I mean, one thing that Microsoft needs to realize here is going with Windows 7 and Windows Vista and XP and even going farther than that back, the premise has always been the same. You know, you open Windows this way, you click on the start button here, you know how to right-click here, you know how to do the basics. And most people, even, you know, old grandpas and grandpas know how to do that.
Know how to do it, yeah. Well, now, what's bizarre is when an enthusiast has no idea how to shut down or reset the computer.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very...
Well, I think that's pretty much our point, is that they've changed it in such a way where it's not intuitive at all. It's not even close to what they had before.
I like it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like what it is, and I could understand what they're trying to do. But for but I also understand where the enthusiasts and the power users are coming from. A lot of us don't like change. The tech world is like that. They scream for change, and when change arrives, we complain that it's too much change and it's too soon and it's not what we wanted. They have to
agree with that, though.
Microsoft, but we also have to look at it in this way. You know, the existing version of Windows, right, has been implemented since Windows 95. Actually, Windows 3.1.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So they can leave it the same on the desktop. They don't need to change the desktop. I understand Microsoft's motivation of wanting to innovate and do something for a tablet platform.
Actually, Paul Thurrott had a great image on his website a couple of months ago when Windows 8 came out, and he wrote, "Why can't Windows 8 look like this?" And it was the desktop, but metroized. And it was a very cool
you can
image.
do that to a degree with this start screen thing from Stardock that I featured a couple of weeks ago. It does that to a degree, but it's not as slick as most people would prefer.
Yeah. No. It's not as slick as you would prefer. But you know, they're gonna have to drop this legacy nonsense at one point. They're gonna have to, and I guess this is their way of doing it.
What you're saying is that the way that the Windows desktop is emulated right now is legacy. Because it's old, because it's 15 years old, it's legacy. Even though it's been updated throughout the years.
Yes, I do think that.
Even though there's really nothing, is there anything wrong with the way that the Windows taskbar is right now?
Again, I'm not. I understand both points. I'm not picking a side in it. I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing.
If it's not broke, why change it?
Because they have to.
Why?
They have to.
Why?
Because you got to look at the evolution of the operating system. They have to evolve with the times. You know, I think Microsoft, and it's interesting for them to do this. Microsoft is getting ready for a post-PC era, and I think this device is screaming post-PC all over it.
Yeah,
but a desktop is not a touchscreen device.
But the days of the desktop are numbered. That's the thing.
That's the one minor point here that I know we're kind of glancing over, and we're focusing a lot on the desktop experience. And you know what? I think Microsoft is making a small mistake here where they're forcing the touch and tablet type experience onto the desktop.
I agree with you on that.
And all they need to do, all they have to do is, and the software can do this probably automatically. If it detects that you do not have a touchscreen and it detects that you do not have that capability, it gives you the traditional desktop experience. If you're installing it onto a tablet, if it notices you have an ARM processor or something along those lines, it gives you the tablet experience. I think that's what it needs to do and not force the tablet experience onto everybody. And I think that's where Microsoft is making a huge vital mistake.
I told Paul we were discussing this off the air the other day, and I'm because I constantly use my MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro has a phenomenal touchpad. I don't know if you've experienced it, Chase. Have you used a touchpad?
Oh yeah, well
I've
I've used not the touchpad, but I've used the what you might call it
the Magic Pad.
The Magic Pad, yeah, where you can pinch and zoom
Sure.
and 4-finger swipes and stuff. Oh yeah.
I've used multiple laptops. We have a couple different ones here. We have all different levels of laptops in the studio. We have a $300 Asus. We have a $500 Acer. We have the ThinkPad that my wife has, which is like a $1,200-$1,300 laptop, and we have the MacBook Pro. The experience with the MacBook Pro with using the touchpad is the best out of all of them. And second, it's the ThinkPad. The $500 and the $400 laptops, the touchpad on these devices is atrocious, and it's to the point that your experience with the computer is severely affected by it.
But that's not the OS's fault.
No.
Fault.
It's not the OS's fault. It's the hardware fault. Exactly. Now, the Windows 8, the Metro UI, relies on you being able to swipe back and forth. It kind of relies on this touching and movement.
On you actually having some sort of touch input device.
In a way, I haven't used it with a mouse yet. So let's not go there. But here,
it does, trust me. Because
okay. So let's say it does. Let's say it does.
I feel like Microsoft has optimized Windows specifically for touch devices, and they're taking all those optimizations, leaving it in Windows 8, and putting it on a desktop. That doesn't work. None of those optimizations whatsoever. Everything they've done, in my opinion, does not work on a traditional keyboard, mouse, non-touch desktop computing environment.
Okay, so here's my point with this. I installed Windows 8 on 3 machines. I haven't installed it on my MacBook Pro, which I will. But I installed it on the ThinkPad. I installed it on the $500 on the $400. My experience on them with Windows 8 was different, and on each and every one of the machines, they were awful on the $500 and the $400 laptop. But on the $1,000 laptop, it was much better. Now, this is a problem when you're going to have...
Was that an issue with Windows 8, or was that an issue with the hardware?
Now, it's a hardware issue, but where my point is that the cheaper hardware, the cheaper trackpads, when most of these laptops are putting in, nobody's putting in high-end, trackpads on $500-$600 laptops. I mean, unless you're lucky and you find the laptop with it, your experience is going to be bad. And people aren't going to think, well, my trackpad sucks. They're going to say, oh, Windows 8 is bad. It's not old drivers either. I think it's the physical hardware. I wonder what it's going to mean for the laptops and the hardware manufacturers when it comes down to this, because this is very heavy. It relies heavily on your touch experience. I'm curious to know.
More crap.
I'm curious to know how the lower end laptops are going to perform in this, how the experience is going to be on the final version, and if they're going to end up having to put better trackpads because it's a different type of environment you're in.
Well, that's the thing, for so long, these laptops and smaller, lower-end devices didn't have to rely on these pinch to zoom, swiping, all these extra things that you typically don't do with a trackpad. All you did was kind of move the mouse around and you click, and now we're doing swiping. Obviously, Microsoft's taking a page out of Apple's playbook.
I believe you need at least, in order to have the top experience, you need a 5-point touch trackpad.
Right.
And most of these devices are 2 or 3.
No.
I believe the MacBook Pro is 10.
So all Microsoft has to do is when you install the software, it detects what hardware you have. Oh, you don't have this. You don't have a touchscreen. We're going to give you the traditional desktop experience, but you can go ahead and use the other if you wish. But for the best experience possible, we're going to give you the desktop. But no, they're not doing that. They're going to force this tile interface on all of us, no matter what. And for right now, I have no personal compelling reason to update because I don't want to boot up my computer just to get rid of the tiles and go back to a neutered desktop mode.
Yeah, very interesting. I do want to talk about one more Microsoft story, and that's, I guess Retina's the word now. That is the new catchphrase. What supports Retina? All Retina is pixel-dense displays. It's denser pixels in the display. It's not this special thing. I mean, we've seen it happen for years. It's not an Apple technology. Apple decides to call it Retina. Windows 8 will be supporting, will be Retina ready, so it'll be dense pixel ready for displays. This is actually a good sign because a lot of people were kind of fearing that with the Retina display that the iPad kind of rejuvenated itself and kind of said, okay, well, you know what? You could have a great operating system, but it's not going to look as good as what we're doing. And now we're starting to see that, well, Windows 8 is going to support it, meaning Windows 8 tablets will probably come out with Retina-style displays. I believe the Windows resolution will be supporting 2560 by 1440, right, Suncast? Is that right?
Yes.
And it's 290 pixels per inch. So it's a little more, actually, than the iPad. Am I right with that? I think the iPad is 260.
Sound right, because let me double check this article because I think it said 241 dots per inch.
I see 291.
Okay, yeah, it is 291.
Okay, so 291. This is a little bit more than the iPad, but it doesn't really matter at that point. Your eye can't really see it. Is this the new thing now? Is this going to be the main thing for 2012 and 2013? These dense pixel displays.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I think this is the new. This is going to be the new thing. I mean, we've been talking about HD and all this, but now I think this is where it really matters.
This is the standard. I mean, this is where you'll be able to look down at a display and be able to read text, and it's like paper. It's crisp. It looks phenomenal.
By the way, I did get a chance to play with a new iPad this week.
And what do you think?
I have to tell you, it also depends app to app. There's certain situations that it doesn't matter because the app is not updated. But the apps that are updated with the support for this, for Retina, I'll tell you, like it first of all, reading on it is a lot easier.
Yeah.
You don't strain the eye, and the font could even be smaller, and you'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
The other thing was any kind of image picture looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super sharp. Super, super sharp.
Have you watched any HD video on it?
I didn't. I watched a YouTube video. I can't remember if it was HD. But regardless of what you're watching, because there are more pixels in that area, it's going to look better.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that wowed me, and that's one thing that you're going to see now where if a device, whether it be a phone, a tablet, and we're going to start seeing this in probably computer monitors, and if it doesn't have a really high resolution display, and you could see the pixels, it's going to look like crap, and it's going to look bad because there's going to be all these devices and all these things that are optimized now for these displays. I mean, I'm now looking for apps that are optimized for Retina use on the iPad and on the iPhone.
I got
the way it is.
The laptop behind me. I had the screen replaced; it was broken. And I went to Flushing, and I got a cheaper Chinese manufactured display for it, and I could see the pixels. It's awful. In everything, in every situation, I could just see pixels. It's really bad. I mean, I paid $50 for the display, but it goes a long way. I mean, when you're talking about these kind of displays, and I guess this is going to be the standard for the coming years. We've kind of evolved into this, and I think I don't know if I was talking to you or I was talking to Paul, but. We're not talking about the CPU anymore.
No.
We're not talking about the video card anymore. These are the things that we're going to talk about. People are talking about the display and the resolution and if it's a Retina display and if it's not a Retina display. These are the things that are really going to start mattering, and this is how a device is going to be taken from a decent device to an unbelievable device.
Well, to the non-tech geek, sure, I think that matters. I mean, you still talk to hardcore gamers, including myself and some of my friends, The one thing that we're talking about right now is the NVIDIA 680 that just was recently announced. So some hardware still definitely matters, but I think for the general population, what it comes down to it is the person will walk into that Apple store or that AT&T store or Best Buy. They're going to look at this tablet sitting next to all the 10 other Android tablets that are out there, and they're going to look at the display, and they're going to be wowed by the crispness of the crispness of the text and just how it looks, and they're going to be like, I'm getting this.
So I guess
they won't care about the memory or anything.
To you, is this a selling point?
I think it is, yeah. I think everybody wants a great display, something good to look at.
How is this going to affect the screen manufacturers now? That's what I'm curious. You know, how is this going to affect any type of LCD display that's on the market, any kind of monitor that's on the market? I think they're all going to have to be high density.
Well, it's an evolutionary
displays.
thing.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's something that will increase in popularity over time. We'll see. It's starting with these device manufacturers to actually create devices, not necessarily, you know, displays itself, like we see with monitors. I think we'll see those over time, but it'll still be something that's going to be costly because you're looking at larger displays than what we're used to in mobile devices. We're typically seeing these high-density displays.
I mean, and that's the thing. I agree completely with the Suncast. It's evolutionary. You know, we started with our cell phones just showing LEDs. You know, remember the whole Motorola C-Tax? You know, it just show you the digits.
Yeah.
And now we've moved to a monochrome screen on the Nokias, and now we have, you know, pixel-rich displays. It's just another evolution. And these companies, you know, whether they like it or not, Apple's pushed that envelope to make it happen now on a much larger scale and a larger form factor. And you're going to see this move to everything. I don't know if you're going to see it necessarily move to televisions.
Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we?
Well, because right now, the infrastructure and the content isn't there yet for 4K.
So this is what I want to know. It doesn't necessarily have to, it's more pixels per square inch. So when we talk about resolution, that's different. The screen size doesn't necessarily impact the density of the pixels.
Right.
So can't we see denser pixels on these LCD and plasma displays that would give you a richer screen?
Sure, you could, and I bet you probably will see a couple of companies come out with something like that, but the overall cost factor, I mean, the cost factor alone, you know, Apple had to dip into their margins a little bit for the iPad, the new iPad. Just imagine if that was blown up on a 60-inch Spectrum. You know, you're looking at probably a more substantial cost because you're adding much more pixels over a larger area.
But what I find funny is that this is not when people go to shop for TVs, you know, we're so used to seeing, you know, the 1080p, 1080i. First of all, interlace is awful. So let's say everything is 1080p or 720p at this point.
Right.
But we don't look at the pixel density. And I wonder if that's because everybody follows a standard at this point.
Well,
with that.
Sharp did this. They're doing this. You know, they added the yellow pixel to their Quatron. They call it Quatron technology. So they added a fourth pixel, which increased the pixel density. So there's, for example, I have a 70-inch TV from Sharp, and there's two different models, basically, one that has this pixel and one that doesn't. And, you know, they've done side-by-side tests. And really visually, because of the content coming in, 1080p content, couldn't tell the difference between the two if both sets were properly calibrated. So remember, it also comes back to how the content is placed onto the device. Now, we've watched videos and movies on the iPad that are not HD and it looks a little bit better, but just do a simple comparison, Andrew, between a non-Retina optimized device or app and a Retina optimized app.
Oh, that's a big difference.
See the difference.
Yeah, no, there is. I noticed the difference between my iPod Touch and my my wife's iPhone 4S. Suncast has an iPod Touch, and you know, if I were to put them side by side, you would be able to see the big difference. I mean, and you would think, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Comes down to the content. Once we see 4K content and you see broadcasters doing 4K, And you see, providers doing 4K.
Which, by the way, I think we're 10 years away from that.
Yeah. So I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see pixel-rich televisions. You might see one or two premier companies saying, "Yeah, we have," and try to spin it off as a marketing ploy. But I don't think you're going to see that.
Before that, if you look at it, before that we have to go to progressive scan 1080 video before we go to any kind of higher quality.
Yeah.
Right now, we're still
Not
doing.
all networks even broadcast in 1080.
Not all broadcast. They're doing 720, and they're doing highly compressed 720 that looks awful. So we're a long way. I mean, I'm saying 10 years, but who knows? I mean, we might be 20 years away.
If you want a comparison, look at this. If you ever watched a Blu-ray, you can tell there's a difference between what you see on a Blu-ray disc, actually playing that, versus what you see on TV. You don't get as great of a detail when you're looking at something that's on TV versus an actual 1080p Blu-ray.
But
one minor disagreement on that.
Okay.
I get my HD content over the air with an antenna, so it's not being compressed by a provider like Comcast or DirecTV. I'm getting it straight from the transmitter, and I get incredible picture and incredible bit rate. I have a program on my computer that can monitor that, and I get incredible bit rate. So it really depends on your provider and how you get it.
So let's do this. It's almost like comparing it to a YouTube 1080p video, comparing that to a Blu-ray, because it's compressed on YouTube.
Right.
I mean,
it's compressed in codecs and stuff.
Yeah. So that's almost like the comparison that we're talking about. All right, guys, let's do our picks of the week. What do you think?
Sure.
Who wants to go first this week?
I can go first if you want.
Oh, Suncast.
I'll make it easier for you, as long as you have the lower third up.
There we go. Shut it.
He never has it ready.
No, you know why? Because I used to have it as TNW1, and now it's just picks of the week. So I would just scroll down before.
So rename it.
Too much work.
Oh, lazy.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so my pick of the week this week is a application called APK Backup and Installer. It's really cool. It's from the XDA Developers Forum. And what it does is it's for any Android device you have. It'll batch backup and batch install any APK application that you have. If you want to get like a backup of all the applications on your Android as an APK at one go-around, you can do that with this tool. It's called APK. What is it? It's APK Batch Installer is what it's really called. But it has so many functions on it. And really, if you want to use this device, you really should have a rooted device, because that's the way you can really back up this stuff. You can install stuff in batches, but if you want to back up, you do need a rooted device. It's really cool. I'll switch my camera over so that you can actually see some of these. So this is basically what you see when you get to the application. You can batch install and also batch backup. That's hard to say. It's really cool. Again, you have to have a rooted device, but it's easier than some of these on-device applications such as Titanium Backup. I think this is a little bit easier. Plus, you can store it all on your computer. You can also do this wirelessly, which is really cool. Is that if you have a ADB, excuse me, wireless driver on your Android device, you can do all of this wirelessly, because it has support for an IP address and all of that on there. It's really cool. You can select what applications you want to install and back up. I really like this because it's to me much more simpler and easier and more convenient to have it actually on my computer than all on my computer and all that stuff and in the cloud and whatnot. So you can get it at the XDA Developers Forum.
Excellent. Cool pick. Chase, you know what? I'll go next.
All right, fine.
I'll go next.
Okay.
My pick this week is a game for iOS and Android. Some of you may have heard it, and it's called Angry Birds. And there's a new Angry Birds. It's Angry Birds Space. So the birds now are fighting the pigs in space. Oh, there you go. You got a screenshot, huh?
There you go.
Oh, there you go. It's squared, though. I don't know if you noticed. You see that?
Yeah, because that's my resolution.
Oh, okay. So is there like a little video that you can put on? They redid the game a little bit, and the elements are a little different. There's some gravitational stuff going on. Let me see if I can pull this here. There you go. So, it's the same exact game as always. You fight the pigs, but the graphics are a little sharper that I've noticed. They're new birds. So, and I'm playing it right now. Are you a fan of Angry Birds, Chase?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't picked up Space yet, but I have versions on my iPhone and iPad, and fun to play.
No, it's cool, and I believe it's $2.99 on the iPad. On Android, it's free because you got ads. I don't like the ad experience on this game, unfortunately. It's bizarre having an ad up top. But oh, there we go. Here's the video.
It's a cheap price to pay for the enjoyment.
Yes.
I say get rid of the ads.
Yeah, I wonder why you can't pay for it though on Android. So there it is. Look at the pigs. The pigs are zapping them, and they're going to space, and they're gonna fight the pigs in space, and they're getting special powers, and they're going through this vortex. And there's one that comes from space, and look, they're floating around. It's a lot of fun. Angry Birds, yay! You could kill stuff. That's my pick of the week. It's Angry Birds in space, Angry Birds Space, and it's on pretty much everywhere you can imagine. Do they have a Flash version of it yet, or no?
I don't know.
I wonder if they do, because I know they have it on the other ones. Probably not. Probably later on they'll release it. No, they do. It's on a PC, Mac, Android, and iOS, so it's everywhere. It's on every platform. So you could try it out. That's my pick. Chase, you're up.
All right. Now, we were talking about streaming video earlier. I'm a huge baseball fan, by the way, and I know the camera doesn't show it, but I have at least 40 baseball caps all around my studio here. And Major League Baseball pushes out more streaming video than any other provider out there. They push out so much because they cover every single baseball game everywhere. So my pick this week is the MLB app for everything. You can get it for Android. I obviously use it for iPad, iPhone. They also will have it available by opening day for Windows Phone 7 as well. And the great thing about this app is you can pay one price, $14.95, and you can have access to audio streams. But really where this app shines, and it's a free download, if you have yourself an MLB account, say a premium account, and what you do, so you sign up for the premium account, and for $124 for the whole year, you log in to all of your devices. So you log into your phone, you log into your iPad, you log in to your PS3. It's going to be on the Xbox 360, and you can watch streaming baseball in high def anywhere. And if you're in your home market, usually it's blacked out. You could still catch the audio feeds from anywhere. The great thing is if you're watching it on your computer, you can get multiple angles. One thing I like to do is when I'm working from home, I'll have the game going, and you can actually turn off the in-game commentary and just listen to the ballpark sounds, just the hit of the bat.
And you could
do
the I believe you could do the local market announcing also, right?
Yes, you can do local or away. And if there's a video feed, you can do the local. You can do the home video feed or the away video feed. It's really powerful. It's high def on Boxy Box, Roku, PS3. It's going to be Xbox 360. It's on everywhere. But really, the MLB service, if you're a baseball fan, I got rid of my satellite a few months ago. I used to get the MLB extra innings on DirecTV for basically half the price. I get it on all my devices. It's incredible. I got to say, if you are a baseball fan and you want to watch your stuff, watch your favorite team, no matter where they're at,
let's go Mets.
This is the app for you. Absolutely.
The Mets are going to do it this year. I know it. This is the year for the Mets. This is the year.
Yeah, okay.
I've been saying that since 1980. My entire life, I've been trained to be a loser.
Baseball season's just a week away. The Mariners and the Oakland A's open up in Japan. So it's going to be a great season.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Excellent pick, actually. And that's the show, guys. Thank you, Chase, for joining us. Chase, geekgamer.tv,
yes.
Where you could go to great shows, Geek Gamer TV,
Geek Gamer Weekly,
and
Minecraft Me.
And Minecraft Me, which Minecraft Me is doing phenomenal, right?
Yeah, we do that show every Thursday, and we basically show the common person through the game and how to play it. And Joe Falby does that show with me. It's a lot of fun. And then also on Sundays, like you mentioned, we do a technology-based show live. Sundays at geekgamer.tv. And it's always a pleasure being on the GFQ. It's always fun hanging out with you guys.
By the way, I need to come on that show, and you need to teach me how to play.
Absolutely, for sure.
Because I played it for about 15 minutes, and I had no idea what I was doing.
and the great thing too is we just recently launched about 3 weeks ago a public server, so anybody can join and build with us and have some fun with us. And I would take you under my wing and show you the basics.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Suncast, Amadeus, your website. Give us all the info.
AMADAIS.com. It's basically a website blog where I post videos from YouTube of singers, artists that are pretty cool. Not necessarily mainstream artists, but they're good in their own right, and they're very, very, very cool.
Yes, they do cover songs. They do originals. Really cool site. Really, really interesting stuff. Amadeus, also follow him on Twitter at Amadeus. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian. Follow the network, GFQ Network. Suncast on Twitter, and Chase at Nunez, right? Nunes.
Nunes. You got it.
Nunez. You can follow Chase. And we'll see you all next week, guys. Have a good weekend. Good night.